I'm Martin Thomas, and it's Wednesday, the 13th of November, 2024. Welcome to the 7-Minute Briefing Podcast, your roundup of news and current affairs from the Middle East and North Africa, brought to you by Sat7. Over a year has passed since the Hamas-led attack on Israel, and conflict in the Middle East has continued to escalate, leaving around 2 million people displaced. But despite the ongoing conflicts, Sat7 continues to broadcast messages of hope to the region, and viewers keep getting in touch with stories of God at work in their lives. In this month's briefing, we'll hear how Lebanese Christians are responding to the call to serve their neighbours, how Sat7 Kids is supporting children caught up in war, and how the Sat7 team in Beirut are continuing to broadcast God's love despite the dangers. In Lebanon, Hezbollah has been weakened by the death of its long-term leader, Hassan Nasrallah. However, Hezbollah and Israel continue to exchange missiles, and the bombing of sites across the south and east of Lebanon has prompted concern for UNESCO-listed heritage sites, like Baalbek's ancient Roman temple of Bacchus. Over 3,000 people in Lebanon have lost their lives in the last year, with upwards of 1.2 million people having been displaced and around 300,000 fleeing into Syria. The wide-scale destruction is set to cause long-term displacement and risks increasing communal tensions between different religious groups. Responding to the crisis, many Christian communities have given shelter to displaced families. In Deir al-Hamar, Archbishop Hannah Rami described how some 6,500 people have been put up in private homes and churches across the town. Each of the Christian families in the villages have welcomed between 30 and 60 people, he shared. In Beirut, where the Arab Baptist Theological Seminary is sheltering over 200 people, teacher George Sleiman said Christians are being challenged to follow Jesus' example of servant kingship. He said, "We are presented with a situation where people desperately need our service, and it starts with love in our hearts." Lebanon is home to more than 30 Sat7 staff and their families, but amidst the violence, the team continue to broadcast live from Beirut. Rita El-Manea, Sat7's international CEO, spoke of her colleagues saying, "Just imagine hearing bombs all night long. They get no sleep, but they insist on going to work in the studio because they believe it is our role as Christians to bring hope."
Hi, today we had a live episode together with a journalist called Ali Ahwash from Sat7 studio overlooking Beirut. And like few minutes before the episode started, there was a bomb in Dahia, so we could see the smoke.
Reports that peace negotiations have reached an advanced stage have renewed hopes of a ceasefire in Lebanon. Please pray that a peace agreement will be reached shortly.
You're listening to the 7-Minute Briefing Podcast, brought to you by Sat7. As Christmas approaches, keep an eye out for our Advent resources, like our colouring and activity book, A Very Middle Eastern Advent, which will take you and your family on an exciting journey through the Middle East to where the first Christmas took place over 2,000 years ago.
Looking now to Gaza, which has tragically been largely flattened by more than a year of bombing, one ray of light has been a multi-day ceasefire to help facilitate the second stage of the polio vaccination programme for children in the north. Unfortunately, it seems unlikely that aid will reach some northern districts where residents were ordered to evacuate in early October. The estimated 100,000 people remaining have now been cut off from outside help for over a month, with the UN describing the dire humanitarian situation as apocalyptic. But amid the fear and chaos of war, Sat7 Kids is reaching out to young viewers with songs, dramas, and prayers to bring comfort and hope. In times of war, fear, and uncertainty, Sat7 Kids becomes more than just a TV channel, says channel manager Andrea El-Manea. It becomes a refuge, a source of comfort through the laughter, stories and prayers. We try to soothe their fears, giving them something to believe in beyond the darkness around them. Moving to Afghanistan, where the Sat7 Pars channel has received encouraging news that despite increasing restrictions for women and girls, the internet is working well in many areas, allowing some girls to continue their education in secret online. Jamil, a Christian in Afghanistan, spoke to Sat7 describing how a discipleship group launched on Zoom last year is proving to be a great support for isolated believers like himself. I thank God for you at Sat7 who are providing these classes. We have no one here in Afghanistan apart from you, he told us. Finally, October saw the Count It Right festival held in Egypt, which brought together thousands of families in a vibrant celebration of faith and worship. As well as broadcasting the event, a Sat7 outreach team attended the festival, listening to attendees' stories and praying with them. Upon hearing about Sat7's digital platform, Sat7 Plus, one young festival goer decided to volunteer with the team, and by the end of the day had described it as a life-changing experience. Give thanks for the Count It Right festival and how it has strengthened faith and provided opportunities for worship. And please pray that Sat7's broadcast of the event will share the joy even further. Thank you for listening to the 7-minute briefing from Sat7. Take a look at today's show notes, where you'll find links to today's briefing article, plus ideas of how you can be praying into the region this Christmas.